Why, hello there. So I asked you guys on Instagram and also on my Snapchat if you had any questions for me so I could make my very first Q&A. So here it is. My ex-boyfriends will be joining us this evening. You guys asked a lot of great questions, so I'm going to try to answer all of them. And I have them all written on my phone, so that's why if I glance down, that's what I'm looking at. And I'm going to be enjoying a glass of fresh blood as I answer your questions. Just kidding, it's wine. First question. Do you have a favorite goth movie? Yes, I do. It is actually the first movie that got me into the whole creepy, spooky vibe, and that is A Nightmare Before Christmas. Stereotypical, I know, but I love that movie. My parents showed it to me for the first time when I was probably 7 or 8, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but I fell in love with it, and ever since then, it's been a classic favorite of mine. I own it. I actually own 2 copies of it. I own the special edition and the normal edition, so love that movie very much. What are your favorite bands? Well, I have a lot of favorite bands. To name a few, Nightwish, Marilyn Manson, Alice Cooper, AC/DC, Amon Amarth. I'm into more rock and roll and metal bands on the heavier side than I am pop music and country. I do listen to pop and country, just not as much. What is your favorite black lipstick? Well, I actually have 2 favorites. My first is what I'm wearing right now, which is from LA Splash Cosmetics, and it is called Venom, appropriately named. And my second is from Pretty Zombie Cosmetics, and that one is called Black Cat. When I wear them, they're pretty much identical because they're both a very deep, velvety black, but I like to use them interchangeably, so it doesn't really matter. The worst reaction you've ever had to dressing goth in public? That is an excellent question. I actually just went out to an organ concert with my mom because I really love the organ. I think it's a beautiful instrument and it just gives me chills up and down my spine whenever I hear it. So we were going there. It was in this old church at a military base. So it was me and my mom. I was dressed all in black with a cute floofy skirt and black lipstick and no crazy contacts, just my normal eyes and my regular hair. And this old lady and her husband sat down behind us. And we had already sat down, so they didn't see what I looked like. So I turned around to look at this big, beautiful stained glass window behind me in the church, and I heard her say something like, "She's wearing black lipstick? How scary is that?" And my mom has never really been with me in public when I've dressed more goth, and she's never really heard or seen any people react to me that way before, so she was like, "Are you serious? Did she really just say that?" I forget, the lady said something else. I forget what she said. It was something else silly like that. And so she and her husband actually got up and they moved. You know, the church usually have the center aisle and there's 2 aisles, one on the left and the right. I was on the left with my mom, so she got up, went across the aisle, and sat as far away as she could on the right side. And then she made her husband sit in between her and me in the aisles as if he was protecting her. It was just funny, but I don't really think there's anything that's happened to me that's really bad, thankfully. Worst thing that someone has ever said to me. Let's see. It wasn't in person, thankfully, but the worst thing someone ever said to me was, "You would be doing yourself and everyone else a favor if you went and killed yourself." So my reaction was, I kind of scolded him about it because this is actually on a dating website, and that was the first interaction we had, was he messaged me saying that. So I guess he found me very unappealing. But I told him, you really shouldn't be going around the internet saying things like that to people that you've never met, especially telling people to go kill themselves. That's just not right. But yeah, that's the worst thing someone's ever said to me. Have you ever considered being an alternative model? Yes, I have. I've actually modeled quite a few times before. I've done it for personal projects for photographers that have done freelance. They usually pay me in TFP, which is trade for print shoots. I get pictures and they get stuff for their portfolio, so we both kind of end up winning in those situations. But I've never done a paid shoot or a promotional shoot. Whenever I've promoted Whenever I've promoted products, it's always been done here in my little studio in my house. I've never really done any outside photo shoots with other big companies or brands or stuff like that, so maybe in the future I'd like to do that. What is your ideal date? Well, my ideal date would definitely be a picnic in a cemetery, or even just a night walk in the cemetery where we just talk. No one has ever taken me out to a cemetery on a date. I don't know why. That's such a common thing to do, right? That would be my ideal date for sure. I just love cemeteries. I've always been drawn to them. And when I was actually in college, the school that I went to had a cemetery right next to it. So the school's Wi-Fi carried over into the cemetery, so I just go out there and sit and write my English papers and go on Facebook. It was fun. I miss it. Here's a good one. How do you deal with those who judge and harass you with negativity? For the most part, it depends because normally I deal with it differently depending if it's in person or online. Where I live, it's more of a small town, so people aren't really used to seeing someone who looks the way that I do most of the time. So whenever I do go out dressed alternatively or I look like this, I usually get honked at, I usually get yelled at, I usually get really stupid comments. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember some of the things people have said to me. It's mostly stupid stuff like, you're so black, why are you so emo, goth girl, shouting it at me as if I didn't already know. Stuff like that I try to either laugh off or ignore because it's really not worth it to pick a fight about. And people who think that way typically aren't going to change their mind just because you try to talk to them. And online, I try to deal with people by either... It's hard because at first I tried to talk to people to make them realize that what they're saying when it comes to mean and negative comments, it's not okay to do that, regardless if it's in person or online, because there is a person on the other side of that. It's not just, a computer screen and there are no consequences. There may not be any immediate consequences for you saying the mean things to someone, but that can really hurt that person. Or I know a lot of people say that, oh, that's not the real reason people commit suicide, but it's, it doesn't help, certainly. So really, people shouldn't be doing that regardless. So I've tried to talk to people and make them realize that what they're doing is wrong. Sometimes that's worked, most of the time it doesn't. So now it just happens so much that I just block them and or report them, because it's really not worth it to try to talk to every single person who says, you're ugly, you're disgusting, why do you dress like that, I hate the way you look, etc. But that's just what I do. Your favorite makeup artist? Well, the first one that immediately comes to mind is Drac Makins, and I've mentioned her before. I actually did a recreation makeup of one of her art pieces a few videos back if you want to check that out. And she is just such a creative person, and her painting skills on her face and off her face are just incredible. I'm so in awe of her. But I really love how she kind of incorporates different things into her designs. The first video I ever saw of her was when she did the Predator makeup, and it was just such a beautiful concept and design. I just fell in love with her and I started watching all of her videos one by one, and I'm still a huge fan to this day. Some of these questions I don't really know how to answer. Like this one, how are you so pretty? I don't know. I appreciate the compliment, thank you very much, it's very sweet, but I feel like pretty is a very abstract kind of, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I'm glad you think I'm pretty. Thank you very much. Favorite products, high-end, and drugstore? Okay, so I have quite a few of these, and a few of these I just discovered recently, but I am absolutely loving them. I really love the Anastasia Dip Brow. For the longest time, I only ever used brown eyeshadow from Sephora to do my brows, which was fine, but whenever I would touch my face or smudge them, they would smudge and come off, which is very frustrating. So now I use my Dip Brow and it withstands just about anything, which is pretty awesome. I know the price is a little steep, I think it was $19 for the little tub, but I've been using it every day and I have barely made a dent in it so far, so I think it's really worth the money that you spend on it. Other high-end stuff would be the Kat Von D Lock-It Foundation. That foundation in Light 42, which is the lightest shade she makes, perfect for my skin tone. I mean, I like looking a little paler than usual because my skin tone is actually more of like darker pale pink, if that makes sense. But this foundation actually makes my skin a shade or two whiter, which I love because I love being all white and ghostly. So I actually just put in an order to Sephora, and I'm buying it for the very first time because I've only ever used it in the little sample sizes you can get in the store. So now I'm going to be owning it, so I'm really excited about that. But yes, that foundation is to die for. I love it, and I apply it with a beauty blender. Gorgeous. The other high-end product that I really recommend would be the Urban Decay finishing spray. I think it's the all-nighter one. It smells so good, and it makes your makeup last for a long time. I mean, come on. Jeffree Star uses it. It's gotta be good. And Manny MUA. So I love both of them. They're both some of my favorite makeup artists. For more drugstore stuff, I would say the e.l.f. HD definition powder, like the translucent powder for your face. Such a staple for me. I use that all the time to set my foundation. I've used it to cook or bake my under eye and my contour. Such a good powder. It's so fine and so smooth. When I started wearing it to work and to just go out, my friends and my coworkers would always ask me, "Your skin looks really smooth, what are you using?" And it's been the e.l.f. HD definition powder, so I've been using it. I've already gone through 2 of them, so that alone speaks to how good they are. 2 of them in the last couple months. So I use that stuff every day. Another drugstore staple of mine would be the Ardell lashes. I love them in every shape and size that they make because whatever, size they keep or make them in, they always fit perfectly on my eyes. I've never had to cut them, they've never been uncomfortable, and I love all the different styles. There are really wispy ones, there are really full and dramatic ones, there are really tiny ones you can cut up and have fun with, so I just love all of their lashes, and they're really affordable too. I think they're not more than $4 or $5 if I remember correctly. My last thing that I would say is my favorite drugstore product would be let me find it. It is the L'Oreal Paris 24-Hour Foundation, the Infallible Pro Matte one. I also like their L'Oreal True Match, and I have them in the shades 101 Classic Ivory for the Pro Matte and the shade W1 Porcelain in the True Match. I find that the True Match is a lot paler than the Infallible Pro Matte, but the Pro Matte is a lot more matte. Who would have thought, right, given the name? But I really like them both. They're really great foundations, and I use them kind of interchangeably throughout, my makeup routine. Favorite lip color and what brand? I have to say my favorite lip color was the first one that I ever bought from Kat Von D, which is Ogogo, which is really bright fluorescent orange. And it was just when I started getting into high-end makeup and Kat Von D, and I went into Sephora and I saw that lipstick and I was like, oh my gosh, I need this. I need an orange lipstick. So I bought it, I loved it, and since then I've never looked back. I've bought so many Kat Von D lipsticks since then. Also kind of related, someone asked, what are my top 5 products of all time? All time? That's a long time. Let's see. I would have to say the e.l.f. HD Finishing Powder, which I've already talked about. The New York City Color NYC is the brand label pretty much, and it's found in Rite Aid, it's found in CVS, pretty much all the drugstores, and that is my favorite black liquid liner for your eyes. I've used that for so long. The brush is so precise and it really gets that nice wing. I'm actually wearing it today. Another item that I really can't do without is this Beauty Treats lip scrub in the flavor Vanilla Bean, and this is hands down the best lip scrub that I've ever tried. I have a couple other favorites, like ones from Baby Bat Beauty and Lush, but this one always exfoliates my skin completely on my lips because sometimes I have very dry and chapped lips, and that doesn't look pretty when you have a really matte lipstick on. So in order to fix that, I use this scrub. Oh, so good. I think the reason it's so good is because it has mostly natural ingredients in it. It's cruelty-free, which is always good. And the thing that makes it different is that it has ground walnut shells in it, which are gentle, but still harsh enough to get all the dead skin off your lips. Another top 5 product of mine would have to be this Jordana Eye Fixation Long Wearing Shadow in Insatiable Silver. Before I even heard about the Urban Decay eyeshadow potion, primer potion, this is what I used for my eyes to prime them for years. And it's an eyeshadow, it's a cream eyeshadow, you put it on and it sets, but since it's white, it instantly makes any eyeshadow that you put on top of it even better, even brighter. So I need to order more of this. I was actually looking for it online on eBay to see if I could find some more. And last but not least, certainly not least, this amazing, amazing, amazing contour book from Lunatic Cosmetic Labs. If you haven't heard of them and you love creepy, awesome packaging, as you can see, you need to look them up because they are an incredible company. And look at this palette. Just look at it. It's so amazing. And it has the cool little mirror detail here, but it has, these are all magnetic pans so they come out, but I typically use these guys for blush, and then I mix these two for contour, and to bake and kind of brighten up and sharpen up my contour on the bottom there, I use these guys with a wet beauty blender. So amazing, and they're so pigmented. I need to do a favorites video just about this because I use this quite literally every single day. I can't do without it. I have so many other contour products and I haven't been able to go back. It's just so superior. Have I always done goth makeup, or did I start out quite neutral and simple? Well, as a kid, I was very sheltered. I didn't really have access to the internet, so I didn't really know that goth was a thing, because again, where I live, it's a very small town. Not many people dress alternatively or look different than, you know, the normies. So I didn't really know there were any other options than looking just, you know, the way that I do. So as I grew up as a kid, I pretty much dressed just normally, jeans and a t-shirt. I actually went through a phase where I only wanted to dress like a guy, and I'd only ever wear guys' clothing, and I always tied my hair back, and I wanted to be really masculine and gruff. See how well that worked out? When I started doing makeup, my first makeup item that I ever bought was a black eyeliner. And this kind of answers another question, when did you start doing makeup? And I started doing makeup when I was about 12 or 13. And at that age, I really loved Pirates of the Caribbean. I loved Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow, so I really wanted to be him for Halloween. And I thought that my parents wouldn't let me buy makeup unless I bought it for a costume. So I told my dad I needed to get black eyeliner to be Jack Sparrow. And he was like, okay, fine. So I was like, yes, he's letting me buy makeup, sweet. So I bought black pencil eyeliner from the drugstore, and that was my first ever makeup product, and that was the first thing I ever started experimenting with. And in high school, I think the most I ever did was pretty neutral pink lipstick, and just mascara and black liner, mostly on my lower lash line, because that's all I really knew how to do. But yeah, that was pretty much how I started out. And then when I got into college and I got access to the internet and I saw all the options that you could do out there and different ways people could look, I was fascinated. So I chose to be alternative, and here I am. What are your most used matte liquid lipsticks? Very many. My most loved brand would have to be Pretty Zombie Cosmetics, because those were the first liquid lipsticks, plural, that I ever bought, besides Kat Von D. And the ones that I use most are the shades Blue Moon, which is a blue, light blue, Potion Number 9, which is a light lavender purple, Black Cat, which is black, Three Witches, which is a beautiful royal purple, and then Kat Von D A Go-Go, as I'd mentioned before, Venom by LA Splash Cosmetics here, and then this new company that I just discovered called Kaylin Cosmetics. Their lipsticks don't really stay on that well when it comes to eating and drinking, but they have a really beautiful color payoff, and they come in a really nice array of colors, and I really love the formula. It goes on kind of watery and thin, but then it sets to a really pigmented matte, but they're just really great lipsticks, and I really like them, so I have to say those would be my most used right now. How did you get involved in makeup? Let's see. That's going back a while. Besides doing the eyeliner for Captain Jack Sparrow, when I started doing more artistic and out-of-the-box makeup looks would probably be about 1.5 years ago, almost 2 years. That was when I really started experimenting with face paint, with doing characters, and I think the reason I got into that was because of this woman called Rose Shock. If you've ever heard of her, I forget what country she's from somewhere in Europe, and she is pretty much the person who inspired me to get into wigs, to get into crazy makeup, contacts, etc., cosplay even, and she's gone from really light and simple natural makeup one day to crazy colorful the next, to a cosplay the next day and then to a really dark and beautiful gothic look the next. I love the fact that she kind of kept you guessing. You wouldn't know what she was going to look like the next day. So that's kind of what I adopted, and I really love, surprising people, and I hate looking the same way every day. It's so boring. So why not change it up? So she's the one who kind of got me into makeup and wigs and all that stuff. How do you deal with people who think makeup is done for vain reasons rather than artistic ones? To be honest, I haven't really had to deal with people like that. No matter what, you're never going to please everyone. You're never going to get everyone to like you, and you're never going to make everyone understand why you do the things that you do. Sure, you can get some people to understand, but most of the time, it's not really worth the effort, because people are set in their ways for the most part, and people who believe something very strongly aren't really going to stop and say, oh yeah, you're right, just because you talk to them. That's not how people work, for the most part, in my experience anyway. It doesn't really matter what they think, because if they're not my friend or someone who's close to me, it doesn't really matter. The people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. It's very true. So if someone minds or calls you vain when you're not, or superficial just because you like makeup, they don't really matter in your life. Their opinion does not matter. Unless there's someone who, for example, is your boss at your job and could get you fired because they don't like the way that you look. That's a different situation, but for people who are just hating on you because they think you're vain or superficial, let them, whatever, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're gonna go home and be dissatisfied with themselves, and you're gonna look beautiful, so who wins? I think you do. If you could do makeup on any celebrity, past or present, who would it be? Oh gosh. Well, I don't want to pick just one, that's no fun. Alice Cooper, for sure, because I love him. He's amazing. I've seen him in concert 5 times and I need to see him again soon. I just can't get enough. He's so amazing and I love his music so much. And also, I think my other one would be Marilyn Manson, because the man just has an amazing face for makeup. All the different looks that he's done, just his whole face, especially with no eyebrows, because you have so much more creative freedom when someone doesn't have eyebrows. Besides, I would love to get close and personal to that face. He's so gorgeous. What is your favorite animal? Well, I'm a bit biased, but my favorite animal is a horse, because I actually own a horse. I've owned him since I was 10. He was a very, very big Christmas present, and it was the best day of my life, and he has just been an amazing, amazing animal to have in my life, because he was quite literally in middle school and the beginning of high school my best friend, because I'd always go and talk to him. I'd tell him everything and he would just be there for me without judging, and obviously because he can't talk, but he's just been my rock for so long. I'm gonna get emotional, but he's getting old, so I know at some point I'm gonna have to say goodbye, and that's not gonna be easy, but that's the problem with animals for me, is that they die way too soon. They live such short lives, and it's not fair, but what are you gonna do? My worst fear, well, I do have a really big one, but I'd say a slightly lesser worse fear, if that's proper English, I don't know how to speak, would be spiders. I am deathly afraid of spiders. If I see one crawling towards me on the floor, I will scream and I will kill it. It's not allowed. My other worst fear is more on the deeper aspect of things. I don't know if it's really a fear, but I dread the day that my parents pass away, because I'm pretty much an only child. I do have half-brothers, but I've grown up pretty much on my own with just me and my parents at my house. I can't really imagine what life is going to be like without them, and of course I don't really want to, nobody wants to think about that. But because my mom had me so late, she had me when she just turned 40, so they're already getting older than most of my other friends' parents, so they don't really understand, it's hard to see people that you've grown up with and that you love and that you cherish grow old, and sorry. But it's just hard to see them get older and start forgetting things, and They're not the same as when they were younger. Obviously, no one's going to be the same when they get older, but for them, especially with my dad, it's been a lot more pronounced the past year and a half. So it worries me, and the fact that I don't really have... I mean, I have a stable job, which is a blessing, but I don't make enough to support them, and I want to be able to make enough to support them. My worst fear, essentially, to put it into terms, is that my parents are going to get old and they're either going to die, and I don't really know how my life is going to go on after that. And also, if they get old and they can't take care of themselves, and I can't take care of them either because I don't make enough, or, you know, I don't really have enough to provide for them, so they have to go to like an old person's home or something like that, you know. It's just stuff like that along those lines. Happier note, what are your top 3 celebrity crushes? Now, this depends on what you consider a celebrity. First thing that comes to mind is Johnny Depp, because I love him. I think he's such an amazing, versatile actor. And I also love Alexander Skarsgård, who, if you don't know who he is, Eric Northman in True Blood, which is a show that I love very, very much. And for my third one, I would have to say Ian Somerhalder, who was the bad boy vampire Damon in The Vampire Diaries, which is another show that I enjoyed quite a bit. Another question I don't know how to answer. Why are you such a badass? Well, I don't really personally see myself as a badass, but thank you. Rock on. I may look very serious in all my photos that I take for Instagram, because somebody said that to me once, that, oh, you look so serious in all your photos. When I saw your videos and on your Periscope, you're so happy and so, you know, excited and smiling all the time. It's like you're 2 completely different people. I don't know what it is, but I hate the way that I look when I smile in photos. So I just don't smile. I just feel like I have my resting bitch face, and that, you know, is what looks best to me, but... So I'm not really a badass, but thank you. How do you get your eyeliner so perfect? The way that I've found to make perfect eyeliner is by actually using a brush from the art store instead of the typical, you know, eyeliner brush that you buy from a cosmetics place, or the one that comes in the tube. And instead of using typical eyeliner as well, I mean, I use eyeliner to draw out my original shape, but then I fill it in and make it really sharp using black Paradise paint from Goth Makeup. It's a face paint, water activated, which means if you cry, it'll smudge, but I usually don't cry, which is good, so... But that is how I achieve my perfect eyeliner. How did you get so good at makeup, and how did you get so awesome? Oh, thank you. You guys are so sweet with your questions. To be honest, when I first started out, I kind of cringe to look back at that now, because I've come so far with just doing it every day and practicing, and I think those are really the secret. To get good at anything, really, you need to have passion for it, and to be willing to put in the hours and the time and the practice, and to keep going even though you make lots of mistakes, because you will. Everyone does as they're learning something. And the last and final question for this Q&A, holy crap. Do I have a boyfriend? No, I do not. I am not actively looking for one at the moment, but if you would like to, feel free to apply. And there's a whole long explanation for why I don't have a boyfriend, but basically, to make a long story short, my last relationship ended about 2 years ago, and it did not end on great terms for me. And I got really invested in the relationship, and I thought that I thought this guy felt the same way about me that I did about him. And I found out that I was wrong right at the end. But basically, hearing that he decided that I wasn't worth his time anymore and that there are more important things, that stung a little bit. So because of that, I've been quite scared of getting close to people and letting anyone get that close to me when it comes to people hanging out. And it's such a strange world these days to go on dates, because I don't really know what constitutes being in a relationship anymore. For example, I could be hanging out with someone exclusively, we don't hang out with anybody else, and we go out places together, we go out to eat all the time, but if that person never asked me to be their girlfriend in so many words, then I'm not. That's just how I feel. You have to ask me, you know, straight out, would you like to be my girlfriend? Then I'll be like, yes or no, depending on, you know, how the situation is. I appreciate when guys are more creative, like asking someone, you know, will you be my girlfriend? That's all well and good, but I mean, come on, you can put a little more thought into it. Like, for example, my last boyfriend, the way he asked me to be his girlfriend was, at the time, I was really into claddagh rings. And for those of you who don't know what they are, they're an Irish ring where it has two hands holding a heart. And I wore them so that the heart was pointing away from me, which means that I was single. And I had two of them. So what he did one night was that we had been talking and we both knew that we liked each other, which was cute. He grabbed my hands, took off both my rings, and then turned them around to face, so the heart was facing me, which meant that I was in a relationship. He put them back in my fingers and then kissed them, which was really freaking cute. Didn't say a word. And then he just kind of looked at me and I was like, oh, yay! So something like that, where it's, you know what they mean, but it's more creative than your typical, want to go out with me? Okay, cool. You know what I mean? Maybe that's me being picky, but I like it when guys actually make an effort. But that about wraps it up for this ridiculously long Q&A. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for everyone who put in questions on my Snapchat, on my Instagram, who messaged me, who texted me. Thank you all so much. It was so much fun to answer all these questions, and now you know a little bit more about me. And if I didn't answer any of your questions, if I somehow missed them, or you want to know more, comment down below and let me know if there are any other questions, and maybe I'll film another Q&A. We'll see. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a good night, a good day, wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Bye!